This is Infection, the survival podcast recorded live on Tuesday, March 31st, 2020, episode 272. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to another episode of Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. We bring you the latest news, reviews, updates, and more each and every week. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. Of course, you can visit our website. It's infectionpodcast.com. And I also have a blog, which is, I got a brand new article up, dudeinit.com, an open source remote desktop alternative. That's one that a lot of people are checking out on the website, so you should check it out as well. Dudeinit.com. Enough of that. Speaking of a dude that was in IT, well, still, not anymore. A dude that was in
Actually,
IT.
I do security auditing every single morning for a couple hours, so I guess I'm still in it.
Mr. Information Technology himself, Mr. Boise Computer, Brian with an I, Aldridge. Hi, Brian. How are you?
Hello. Well, if you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at Boise Computer. Of course, my blog, biteoftech.com. And as Nick said, go check out our website. If you check out infectionpodcast.com, and on the right-hand side there, you see where it says join our server on Discord. You can go in there and submit news throughout the week. You can hang out and play different games with various people. I've got a couple of different games going on right now. When we do our games of the week, you can participate there. And there's just, that's the primary way that everybody that's involved with the podcast hangs out and chats. So if you want to be a part of the podcast, other than listening, you have a free app that you can use. It's a mobile app, desktop app, also a web-based app. So it's very nice and low resources. So you don't have to worry about it slowing down your machine or phone. Also, we have a Steam group if you want to get notifications right before the live show starts. And you can do that. Just join the group, and a little notification as long as Steam is open will pop up and remind you that, hey, you can jump in the live show, maybe participate in the game giveaways, participate in chat. And it's a lot of fun when people do that. Also, we have a link to our Mixer, our Twitch, and our YouTube channels. So if you want to watch the live video of the show, or after the fact, maybe you're still going to work, or maybe you're working from home on your computer and you just want to listen to a podcast episode while you're doing that, we have on the lower right-hand side all the different episodes that you can, or methods that you can use for whatever kind of platform to listen to pretty much all now 272 episodes of the show. And also on the website, 272 episodes worth of show notes. So if we talk about anything during this episode that maybe you wish you could see the video for, or you want to see the original article that we're citing, more than welcome, go check out our show notes and we will have links to everything for that. If you're going to be doing any purchasing, one thing I noticed, I was mentioning to Nick before the show, they have a special bundle on Humble Bundle for COVID-19 that has a lot of games in it. So if you're interested in checking that out, just make sure you type humble.infectionpodcast.com first, and that will take you to the site with our affiliate link, and then we will get credit for whatever kind of purchase you happen to do at Humble Bundle. Also, we have amazon.infectionpodcast.com. If you do that, anything through Amazon that you get will give us a percentage back, and also you can do your Twitch Prime subs. So those are really good ways that you can sub each month, and then we get a couple bucks for that each time you do it. And over the year, it seems like with one person it wouldn't be that much, but over the year, all of those add up, and then we end up having enough to pay for our Airbnb and a lot of cool stuff for PAX. So, and we're still trying to figure out what in the world is going to happen by the time PAX rolls around. Well, there's not for us. We're waiting to see. Yeah, we're waiting to see what happens, and if people are actually going to be having conventions and things by that time of year. We could guess, but I mean, you could look at the percentages in our guest book.
Yeah, maybe, I hope they don't do it. I hope they don't do it. We're gonna bet the under on this.
Yeah, it's we'll see. We'll see what happens, but hopefully everything's straightened out by then, and we can go to PAX this year.
Yes, sir.
Maybe we'll walk around with masks or something. Who knows?
Masks. Yeah, that's stupid. I'm not doing that. Actually, give you a good excuse to cosplay.
I know.
You could dress up something.
How many people are going to cosplay like in hazmat suits?
No, you could you cosplay as anything you want, anything with a mask.
I know. You just wear a hazmat suit and nobody will look at you funny. Be like, it's probably part of my Well, you could do before the guys from Breaking Bad, or it could be. I mean, there's a number of games that have hazmat suits out.
Good thinking, Brian. You're a
We'll do this.
you're revolutionary.
That's what we'll spend all of our money on, our hazmat suits.
Like the real nice ones from like Granger, like the real nice ones.
Yeah.
So let's get a quick report before we do anything else here, Brian. Let's get a quick Xbone report from the man himself, the man who put the eye in COVID-19, Brian Aldridge. What's the Xbox report looking like this week? Have you had a chance to play anything more? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I ordered an external hard drive.
Okay, I have one of those.
Because I loaded up the 1 terabyte hard drive pretty quickly.
Yep.
And I mean, I played it a little bit, but not. My nephew's been playing it most. So because it's out on the front TV. But I've been playing it some. Seems to work. I really like the Game Pass. I mean, one thing I do like, and I mentioned this before, is I like the Game Pass, how they do it, more than how PlayStation does their PS Now. I like having it to where you're installing the games just as like if you purchase them and don't have to do streaming for every single game. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I've just hopefully I'll get some more time in there or be able to play some games with other people. And then I'll give a report back on that and see how it goes.
Okay. Well, patiently awaiting your 7-year late Xbox One.
I don't know. PH is like the new console's coming out like 8 months, and you're buying buying the Xbox. I'm like, well,
hey, when you're Moneybags Aldridge, I mean, I'd buy
do what I want.
So. Yeah, exactly. I mean, what does this look like? Does this look like China? No, it's America. You want to buy an Xbox one day before the new console's going to come out? You have your right to do so. I mean, that's what's so great. So, Let's talk about some things here, Brian. I made a pretty bold prediction on the show last week about GameStop, I think. Well, did I do that on the show? That they wouldn't open back up?
I don't remember if it was pre-post show or
okay, so nevertheless, I made a prediction last week that GameStop, they would use the coronavirus as a good, not an excuse, but a good way to pivot away from some stores and whatnot. And they have announced that they are going to close another 300 stores across the United States. They closed 320 last year, and they are closing another 300 this year as of right now. I will remind you, it is only March. I mean, be at the end of March, but still only March. So 300 stores as of now, and this appears to be completely separate of what's going on with COVID-19. This was based on earnings that are in well before this. And they're talking about obviously the digitization of a lot of the purchasing and e-commerce around video games. So another 300 GameStops closing. There are, to be fair, 5,500 in the United States, which is a lot, which seemed like a crazy number to me. But close 300 this year, 300 the next year, you slowly start going away. So
yeah, I mean, they know which ones of theirs are financially viable and not. But the question is, with all these changes happening, are those same branches going to be the successful branches after? I mean, this is kind of a weird transition period. We don't know 6 months from now what's going to be the buying patterns and habits of people. Are they going to switch to mostly online, which is kind of my guess, is that they'll push more towards an online purchasing type of role, even more than what we were doing before, which of course for GameStop isn't going to be a great thing.
You know, why doesn't, and they're a little too late to the game at this point, so I'm not necessarily making a recommendation because I think it would be a disaster and a half, but why does GameStop not market digital sales of video games?
Yeah.
Like, why? Because, for example, when I'm looking to buy a game, most of the time I go to Steam, but I have bought digital games from Amazon. I've actually bought digital games from Walmart before. If the price is competitive and comparable, or I have a gift card for one of those services.
See, what seems like would make sense is if they could partner with various places like Fortnite and whatever places where people are buying either currency or games, and then provide some certain type of unique skin for purchasing a digital key through GameStop. I mean, because otherwise, what really is the bonus of purchasing from GameStop? Usually, like with WoW, they'll give you benefits for purchasing early that you can only get from purchasing directly from them a lot of times. And so there's actually a disincentive for purchasing anywhere else. But if they could kind of work with the manufacturers and say, hey, we'd like to sell your game here to where people can come get a digital key and maybe, give them a reason to come into the store, it seems like skins and things like that would be the motivation, or as we talked about last time, coming up with an environment that people come and hang out and do things other than just walk in, purchase something and leave.
Yeah. So for example, Doom Eternal, which is a brand new game, $60 everywhere. It's $60 on GameStop, and you can buy it digitally. So it's not that they don't sell games digitally, but there's no incentive. So here's a great idea. And obviously I don't work at GameStop. Even though I may look like I do right now. I don't work at GameStop, but why not? What about, because it seems like to me, Brian, the market that you might have the best bet in is the consumer PC market. Why not a PC rewards program or something? Like, why not some sort of, why not and I'm not talking about like a, buy 5 games, get one free kind of thing, but I have never gone to GameStop to purchase. Recently, when I've been purchasing a game, unless it was a midnight release, I have not even thought about looking at GameStop. I will look at Amazon, I will look at Walmart, I will look at Target before I even bother looking at GameStop. I can tell you the last game I bought in GameStop, and it was Red Dead Redemption 2, October 26, 2016. It was the last time.
That's the last time I bought a game as well, an actual game.
Yeah.
I did purchase, controllers is the last couple of different things that I purchased from a GameStop. I'll go down there and buy certain hardware, but I could just as easily order those on Amazon. It's just, I don't know. I try to support local stores. If I appreciate having a GameStop there, to where if I need to run and grab a controller because mine broke, I go, and if it's about the same price, I'll go purchase it down there.
See, I don't appreciate GameStop, because anything I can get at GameStop, minus their used games, I can get at Walmart or Target or Best Buy for the exact same price.
We have a Walmart across the street from the GameStop, so if I wanted to, I could go across the street.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that, because obviously Walmart doesn't have a rewards program for video games, but it just seems like, and I know that they've got their power-up rewards bullshit, but I'm talking about, like, if you're in such bad shape financially, which, I mean, they've closed 600 stores over the past 2 years. If you're struggling that much, you've got to do something to entice people to buy. And selling Doom Eternal for the exact same price as everyone else is not that thing.
Yeah.
And selling tchotchke bullshit from ThinkGeek isn't that thing either. Yeah. So
you figure they've got to find out some other reason for them to exist.
Why not some sort of $5 off a game program thing? Some yearly subscription, like an Amazon Prime sort of thing, where you get a certain percentage off. They could do something. And if you buy enough new AAA titles, it would probably, at the end of the day, save you some money. But people don't even think about GameStop. I mean, I have literally not purchased anything from GameStop in over a year and a half. And it's not that I haven't purchased things. I've purchased a Nintendo Switch. I've purchased games for the Nintendo Switch. I've purchased brand new games like Call of Duty. I've purchased games on Steam, Epic, Bethesda. I've purchased games everywhere. I've bought Xbox and PlayStation games too. And I haven't even thought about purchasing anything at GameStop. I haven't walked into a GameStop since October of 2018. And I am their audience. I'm a 23-year-old fully immersed in the video game lifestyle. If they can't win me, they're
irrelevant.
Screwed.
In their current platform, they're irrelevant right now. And
completely.
I mean, there's been a big transition with user groups. I mean, something that's more probably right before your generation was user groups. They really died out in the last 10 years. Like 10 years, they started dying.
Yeah.
About 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they dwindled up to there, but I think it really, like, the death knell happened about 10 years ago. And this is something that for a long period of time, this is where people went to get their information for whatever the topic was of that user group. You know, it might have been what's the latest and greatest.
So from what I understand, and correct me where I'm wrong here, Brian, originally, back in the early days of the internet, you had user groups on the internet, which were like bulletin boards.
Well, you had ones that meet in person, though, as well.
No. That's what I'm saying. So you had these groups online that were these bulletin board groups that would meet, that would all be about a specific
once
topic. And then these groups would spin off, some of them into local areas. So you would have the Boise Computer Club that would meet every third Thursday or whatever it was.
They'd have newsletters and they'd have all kinds of different things.
It was like a local
gatherings.
Club.
Yeah, it was pretty much a club. But if you look at the status of that type of a club over the years, transitioning into your generation, they'd look at it and say, well, why would we meet in person? Like, we're playing video games or we're talking about computers. Like, why would we meet in person to do this? Or if we're going to meet, let's go to a bar and let's make it a social event, not a sit down and learn about computers, because it's a different generation. It's not, there's too many topics too now as well.
Yeah. And I think you're seeing like, there's a lot of success with these barcades. We went to one of them in Seattle. Now, to be fair, when we were in Seattle, there was the largest West Coast video game convention going on.
So you figured it'd be busier than normal.
But it's open 24/7. It's open every day, every year. So they're not just making their money Seattle PAX weekend. I mean, these guys are in the heart of downtown Seattle. And you've got Dave & Buster's all over the country. Those are barcades in some respect.
I think they need to go to more of an adult, have drinks,
Yeah, that's not going to happen. But
I
agree.
I'm just thinking of how they could stay relevant. Like, it has to transition to selling to the older people that have money. Figure something that they come down, they can play games, socialize. Like, that's the only way you're going to keep something like that open. I just don't know how else you could.
Well, and part of this comes down to two. You've got local franchisees, and a lot of it, and I don't know this specifically, and I'm not dogging on anybody that's a manager at a GameStop, but a lot of this comes down to the managers. It seems like to me, Brian, if I were the manager of a GameStop and I would try to find a group of people in my community, wherever it is, that are social in some way or another, and try to pull them to be social at my location. Similar to what the board game stores do. Now, the people go to the board game stores, and GameStop, there's not room for a 5,500 store franchised board game store. That's just not realistic.
Yeah.
They're not. That's a mom and pop business, at least at this point.
They're in the wrong kind of locations.
Absolutely.
To try to transition to that.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. They're in these little shoebox stores because retail rent is outrageous. But they need to do something. And we saw that design of that store in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which looked cool. It had some of the CRT.
I don't know that it's enough to bring in an income. I mean,
the
thing is, when you're dedicating a certain number of computers in the back or TVs, that's a limited number of people. And if you're not coming up with a way to then turn that into money, I mean, it can't be a thing where people just wander in, or they're going to have to rent, but who's going to pay?
Okay. Why does your local GameStop every couple weeks, every couple months, why don't they host a LAN party at your local GameStop on a Saturday, Friday night, Saturday, close the store to people? LANs are expensive, man. LANs are,
that's what I'm saying, where they could offer then beer and wine. People can LAN.
You could do BYOB. Adult. You could do anything you wanted.
Or you could be, if they're underage, no alcohol. I'm trying to think of what could they do to produce money, because they have to come up with something when people are sitting there playing. They're also somehow getting money.
But a LAN party you charge for
the rent. Yeah. I mean, still, is that going to be enough?
I don't know if it'll be enough, but I'll tell you. I mean, I went to a LAN in Albany before I left called Exile LAN. For the weekend, I want to say my rent was $45, $55 for the table, which I didn't have a problem paying for, because I sat there all day, and all night, and all day, and all night again, and played on the computer and played. We had a Guitar Hero tournament at 2:30 in the morning. I mean, that was fun. So I'm not saying that they need to become. This is the thing, though, Brian. If you, and I don't want to rehash GameStop again, even though we already have. Even if you do the LAN party, right? And let's say you charge $30 for your LAN party idea. The bigger thing is that now GameStop is in the people's minds of the people that are there. And because that's, I think, the biggest problem with GameStop. Everybody knows GameStop exists, but here's a great example. Our friend Phantom, who I believe lives somewhere up near the Boston metro area, says, the last time I went to a GameStop, it was to redeem 150,000 power-up points that I racked up for about 8 years. That was in 2016 towards a PS4. I can guarantee you between 2016 and 2020, he knew what GameStop was the entire time. But there was no reason to go to GameStop. GameStop did nothing to try to pull him in as a gamer. And that's the problem with GameStop. So even if they could do something like a LAN party or a meetup or anything to get GameStop out of the back of their mind and into the front of their mind. I mean, you could do anything.
But the thing is,
any sort of meetup, any sort of group, anything.
Right now, we're in that we don't have hindsight as our friend right here at the moment, right?
Correct.
We're looking at a problem from the front end and saying, okay, well, there's no one path to victory, one path to this being successful. And I can't think of anything that's a guaranteed for GameStop just because of the way they are. Like, they're in a tough spot. They're either going to have to do something else, seriously change, or start cutting back and only become, a small set of stores that are just their successful locations.
Yeah, 1,000 stores.
We ran into this. I mean, I remember the same thing when I originally pitched the Chromecast idea to Google. After that, a little while later, I went and approached Cable One and I said, "Hey, just here's an idea I think you guys should follow. Why don't you include Amazon live streaming into your TV top boxes? Have it to where whenever someone rents or buys a subscription to a television series, you get a partial cut of that money. You should include them in your boxes. Quit trying to sell people plans." And they said, no, that's not how we do it. They just felt like that was the wrong way to go. I can guarantee you now, and I've talked to some people that are, fairly high up in that company recently. They wish they would have taken that concept because it would have totally changed. Now, cable companies are getting out of the television business and they're getting into the internet business because they can't maintain saving money and having money because the whole way that the industry works is changing. It just doesn't work that way anymore, and they didn't transition with it. So now they keep losing channels. People get mad. They're in a weird, old, antiquated system that doesn't need to be that way anymore, and they're transitioning to being internet providers. But what probably would have been better is that originally they said, well, how can we make money and still provide people what they want but stay relevant to where our boxes stay on top of their TVs? And you know what? People are getting rid of cable boxes. They're getting streaming boxes because what's the point? Why do you need cable anymore? You don't. And you can do it all with software. And you don't need them. You can shop around.
Yeah.
Other than internet.
Yeah. No, agreed. You have no choice on internet. But
GameStop doesn't have any. They don't have that. They don't have a hook. They don't have anything. Like, at least cable has internet to provide. If they didn't have internet, people would be getting rid of them altogether. GameStop doesn't have that hook. I don't see what's going to hold them on.
And they might not. I mean, our ideas are long shots. Our friend Saul says GameStop, Blockbuster too. Yeah, Blockbuster just couldn't adapt. There was no way to. You don't adapt from selling Independence Day on VHS to streaming video overnight. And I mean, it was a progression, but the point is their whole business model became obsolete. And GameStop is likely trending that way, except they've got more flexibility than Blockbuster, which was literally a movie and video game rental store. That was it. There was nothing else that they did. I mean, they sold candy and tchotchke crap at the front desk. That was it.
But the second Redbox came around prior to Netflix. You had Redbox and you had Netflix actually shipping discs to people's houses.
Originally, I had that originally.
Yeah, and this they couldn't compete with because people will be like, okay, well, I go to places like Blockbuster because I want to get a movie that I just want to watch once. Either it's a new movie or it's a movie that I'm just interested in seeing one time. I don't want to keep it to watch it multiple times. Well, you would go and rent it. Otherwise, maybe you would purchase a movie once in a while. But the second that now they just toss, because most people go because they want to see the latest movie that just came out on tape. Well, Redbox was offering all of those. And then Netflix, for all those random movies, you could have Netflix ship them to you to turn around, give it back. And it just they had nothing at that point to offer. There was no more thing that Blockbuster could offer that those two services, either individually or together, couldn't offer the consumer. So, and it's here too, in that situation, I look and I say, I can't think of one thing that would keep Blockbuster alive in that situation. And I think that's the problem. GameStop's in that exact same boat at this moment. I can't think of one good edge case where they could stay alive. That's a guarantee.
Yeah. So that's GameStop. 300 more stores closing over the next this year. That could double, triple, who knows where that goes, depending on what the outcome of COVID-19 is. So that is the update there on GameStop. Interesting news. I think our friend PH put this in our Discord newsroom, which is incredibly helpful when we're doing show prep here. The Nevada Gaming Control Board, which handles all of the approved types of gambling in Vegas, which is like the gambling mecca of, I think it's pretty safe to say, the world.
Yeah.
So they have approved betting on the CS:GO ESL series, which is the one, the ESL is one of the big invitationals that they do. And you're now going to be able to wager legally in Vegas.
Yeah.
So it's completely legal. You'll be able to bet on the outcome of a video game, a match, whatever it is.
No.
A team, a tournament, a specific game. I mean, you can bet on anything. That's kind of the luxury of sportsbook betting, which is, on traditional sports. But now you're starting to see that come to ESL.
Well, and do you think that this is going to affect anything about the ESL itself?
No, because
how it's run or anything. I mean,
no,
this is external, but I'm wondering if it's going to affect it in any way.
No, I don't think so. Because this is always the argument that the sports teams made, and back in the back in earlier days, and there's documented evidence of this, of people throwing boxing matches to get a big payout, pitchers throwing games to get a big payout. It would be a lot harder to do that in 2020 and beyond with technology and I mean, if you texted somebody and said, "Hey, purposely lose this match," and if any federal agencies thought that they had some sort of case, they'd subpoena the cell phone company and get access to your text messages. So I don't think so. What this will do, hopefully, is bring some more notability to these leagues, because I know you've been to Vegas, Brian, a couple of times. I've been to Vegas a couple of times. People bet on anything in Vegas. I mean, you can bet on if the sun's going to rise tomorrow. I mean, you can literally bet on anything.
I bet you could vote on the COVID-19 numbers.
100%.
I bet you they have something that's here, a speculation of certain numbers, however they want to do it, and they have odds on that.
Yeah, you can get odds on anything in Vegas. A legal sports book in Vegas will give you odds on almost anything. So this will be the wager types. You'll be able to do head-to-head wagers, winner of each round, and overall season winners. So for the entire Pro Series, you could say at the beginning of the season, I think Team X is going to win, and whatever odds a book is going to give you, you can bet on. And with coronavirus continuing its trek across the world, this gives these books something to collect revenue on, which is a hard thing right now. These sports books aren't making any money. Sites like DraftKings and FanDuel, and then all the sports books out in Vegas, what the hell are you betting on? There's no live sporting events. There was horse racing at Gulfstream, I think on Saturday. That's the first, if you want to call horse racing a sport, which I would, that's like the first live sporting event in probably 3 weeks. That's it. That's the only thing you could have gambled betting wise on for a sport.
And right now, Vegas, all the casinos are closed. Which is crazy to think about. I can only imagine walking down the streets of Vegas right now.
I saw some pictures the other week. It was pretty
a bunch of homeless people.
No, it wasn't even that. It was just empty. Like a couple of lone taxi cabs, and just all the fountains are dead. All the lights were out. It was kind of surreal to look at. Yeah, it was kind of weird. Well, not kind of weird.
Well, in those places, there's such a high upkeep. I mean, they're used to so much money pouring in that they expend tons of money just in the power and all the facilities. Everything is just consuming money every second. So like it'd be interesting to be down there and just see everything shut off.
It would be.
And what that's actually doing to it.
So we've got some other general gaming topics I think we'll get back to in a little bit, Brian, because I do want to talk about a game that we have talked about here for the past couple weeks, Last Oasis. That came out. Did it come out on Wednesday?
I think it came out either right after our show or the next day.
I think it was Wednesday. It came out Wednesday or Thursday of last week. And thank you, Bobby J, for the 10-month subscription here on Twitch. We appreciate it very much. I want to say it was Wednesday or Thursday. And originally it came out. Everything seemed to be fine. And then all of a sudden we had some issues. And those were described in a series of YouTube videos by some of the developers. So we'll watch this first video and we'll talk about it a little bit right after this.
Hello everyone, here's Lucas. I'm a producer here at Donkey Crew, and I wanted to bring you a heads up on what's going on with the maintenance of the infrastructure of Last Oasis. We're having these connectivity issues that are unfortunately preventing you from playing the game and enjoying it with your friends right now, and I know how frustrating it is. We are really frustrated about that as well, but we're also working really hard to face the problems and actually address them and fix them as soon as possible.
So I guess what I should say first is that there were some major connection issues with the game. So
are they going into detail on this exactly, like why?
Yes, a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, listen to this.
So you can actually get back to the Oasis and enjoy the game. So I'm here honestly talking about what is the main issue right now. And the main issue right now is a back-end problem. So we are having a back-end problem, which means that this master server that is supposed to connect your game client to our game servers is faulty right now. It's not functioning that well. It's not, the requests are not going through that well. So what that means is that you're not going to be able to log in sometimes. You're not going to be able to travel from Oasis to Oasis. Everything that is connected to our backend and our databases is completely faulty right now, and we're trying to fix that. So that's also why sometimes you cannot log into the game, but you can see someone playing the game in a stream on Twitch, for an example, because those people were already inside a game server, and the game servers are fine, but the connection between the server and the client is problematic right now. So we have a lot of leads on what's going on right now, but the main lead is something that we actually fixed during our streamer event before the release. So we had this streamer event before the release, right? And it was really cool. But we also had some issues with connectivity on that stream event. So actually we investigated that and we found out that our game servers were disconnecting from the backend because of an ISP malfunction. And our system that was supposed to actually reconnect them again was not actually trying to do that more than once. So it would try once and then it would just like, if it doesn't work, it don't connect it again. And then that server would be disconnected forever. So we patched that, we fixed that, and that worked well with the load of players that we had in that streaming event. So when we got to release and we get a lot more players, a lot more requests, this exact same fix actually brought us a big problem, which is an unintended behavior that actually, instead of trying once in a while, it would try a lot. And if it would not succeed, it would keep trying and bombard the backend until it would completely be unstable. So the instabilities come from that. You would pretty much either you succeed or you die. So a lot of the services died multiple times during that. We looked at that. We actually reverted that fix. We are patching some of these things on the game. and we hope that this is actually going to make things go back to be more stable. But also this brings this problem again with the servers disconnecting. So we are investigating all of those things, and we have a lot of leads right now. Our engineering department is fully focused on fixing that and making sure that everyone can enter and enjoy Last Oasis ASAP. We know that you've been enjoying the game. We watched the streams. We were super happy with the people playing, people having fun. But we are also right now super focused and working hard to make sure that we bring everything to normality and we can play Last Oasis like we intended you to. And again, I'm really sorry that you're facing this problems. I know that everyone is at home, like I'm at home right now, and we want to play games, right? And I know that you bought Last Oasis to play with your friends, to enjoy this time that is not being easy for anyone. And I hope you bear with us while we fix this, and see you soon.
All right, Brian. So that's what the update was. What it sounded like to me, and I'm no expert, but it sounded like to me there was an issue with one of their authentication servers. That's kind of what it sounded like a little bit. And that's, I think, what he was describing is that the master authentication server, the master server that you, for example, we used to see this with H1Z1 all the time. The login servers would go down, which would mean you couldn't get into play. The game servers were fine. It's that you couldn't pass the login servers to get to the game servers. And it sounds like he's describing something similar. Some master authentication system was blocking requests, and that seemed to be the issue.
Because the danger with the setup when you have an authentication server like this is when you have a newly released game, just like H1Z1, as you mentioned, and you have thousands and thousands of people trying to connect to one server at one time, that will cause a lot of these issues to happen, to where they just max out. Maybe they've hit a connection cap and a open file limit. I mean, there's different things that can cause this. They're going to have to figure out, well, how do we, we ran into this exact same problem with Hangout Canopy back in the day, where we had so many people connecting to the servers that we maxed out the number of connections we could actually have to one server. Well, how do you fix that? You have put in there that it connects this. And we had it to where it actually used DNS round robin, which every time it goes to look up what the name of our server was, it would randomly pick between a list of servers. Yeah. Just to spread that load out. And I don't know, they're going to have to come up with something like that. If they're hitting a connection limit where they have 10,000 people trying to connect at one moment, I don't know how many sales they've had. They got to figure out, a lot of other studios have figured this out. I'm assuming they're contacting some people who have dealt with this before and saying, hey, how do we do this if they don't know?
So the next video is an update that came 2 days later from another one of the developers.
Hi everyone, Chad's here from Donkey Crew. I'm sure
he looks tired.
It sounds like he's talking in a
still ongoing
fishbowl. Come on.
Many of you are currently not able to connect to Last Oasis. So we decided two things. First of all, we are going to take the servers off for roughly 7 days. Our coders have been working day and night to resolve this issue, and they need some sleep. We need to properly investigate why our load testing didn't pick this up and what went wrong, and figure it out properly and solve it. And the other thing, well, a lot of you mentioned this is not high and early access game should launch, and we fully agree. This is absolutely not high and early access game should launch. So we decided that everyone who is currently unhappy with the state of the game should get a full refund regardless of their in-game hours, no questions asked. So just head to Steam to do that. We also received some positive messages which are very nice to hear in all of this chaos, so thank you for those. We promise we are going to deliver. Many people said that this game is great, they just want to be able to play it. So we'll deliver on that promise as soon as possible. We are really, truly sorry about this situation. We'll resolve it, and thanks for your patience. Thanks.
So, Brian, I think everybody's initial reaction is to be like, oh, these, the effing idiots and blah, blah, blah. Watching that last video is something I don't think we've ever seen before. We've seen the blog posts, right? We've seen the tweets about, oh, we're going to have to do this. you could see the guy in this video, exhausted.
Yep.
Exhausted, completely beat. Now, does that justify the issue? No. But what it really shows you is the human element of it that we never really see. Now, as of today, as of literally like 2 hours ago, this is an update that they are putting. We have narrowed down the root cause of the problem and working towards a fix. It will take some time. When everything is solved, we intend to release a technical post-mortem for other developers to check out in hopes of helping them avoiding running into the same issue. The entire team wants to say a huge thank you to all those who offered their help in any way. Truly means a lot. So these guys, I mean, you want to talk about a disaster. I think the only other somewhat comparable game is Conan Exiles, which had a somewhat similar launch in which all of their official servers were down right away because of their server host Ping Perfect, who was unable to provide the bandwidth in the servers. Now that wasn't really Conan Exile's fault. Now they maybe didn't vet the server host well enough, but it wasn't that.
Yeah, well, one thing
you pay a server host to say, "Hey, we are going to make you our official." They don't get the servers for free. They are shelling out a serious chunk of cash to a server host to host all the official servers, and they dropped the ball.
Well, the only thing I can think of that might be partially the server host's fault or the Conan's fault in that situation is if their game was using more resources than you would intend. I mean, more than they maybe anticipated on release, and then these servers just couldn't handle the extra amount of memory, CPU, whatever it is. That's a very real case too. It's got to be a cooperation between the two. They've got to have it to where, all right, what hardware do we need? We'll make sure it works in that hardware. And it's hard to say with this is all their own hardware, so they've got to figure it out. Like,
yeah, so
they did say an ISP problem. So I mean, there may be some issue with the ISP, but it sounds like it's not 100% ISP.
No, because the fact that they said that they know the fix, but it'll take some time to implement. Yeah, I've got a couple ways to go about this, Brian. Of course, this is exactly the reason why people are hesitant of early access. This is not the first time this has happened. This is not the last time this will happen. But I mean, I do kind of this is a small studio, and I think doing the video over a text blog post or a tweet or a Steam update plays a huge factor here, because you can see the emotion. You feel bad for these guys when if this was written in text, you'd be like, you guys are idiots and don't know what you're doing. And in this case, he was honest. He said, we got to take the servers down because our developers and coders need a chance to be able to sleep so they can try to figure out what the hell's going on here. I think we've all probably been in similar situations at one point or another, whether it be a personal issue with like.
All right, hold on. I'm having an earthquake.
I see that.
I'll be right back.
Okay,
right? I'll be right back.
I'm good. So Brian is currently Brian's house is currently shaking. As we say, sometimes personal things happen, but I do think the human element of this whole thing plays a large factor into it, because you can see that these guys are not providing people with information. They're not keeping people in the dark. They are posting these videos. They're posting things on social media and telling people, hey, we're going to get through this. If you're pissed off, if you're not happy, if you need a refund, we'll give you a refund, whatever it is, whatever it needs to be. We'll be fine. So that's very good that they're doing that. Now, on the other hand, is how do you allow something like this to happen? Early access video games have been releasing for, at least when we've been covering them, 5+ years now. And to me, it seems a little crazy that, and I haven't heard of this issue before. And one of the interesting things I noted here from our Discord community is somebody posted their current player numbers, and you would think, okay, well, other games have this issue. Greatest example every year, I'm part of it, is Call of Duty. Every year Call of Duty releases, they have huge issues with the server. Just disaster. 2, 3, 4, 5 hours to get in. In Call of Duty's defense, there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people all trying to connect. In Last Oasis's non-defense, at the peak players, there was only 20,000 people. That's not 100,000. That's not 200,000. 20,000. That's a lot of connections, don't get me wrong, but it's not millions of people. So I don't see how that nobody. I haven't heard of this anywhere else before. We've covered a lot of games that have come out of. We've covered a lot of games that have launched. I've never heard this issue before. This is a first. So what? Clearly, their infrastructure, server infrastructure, was just poorly designed and was not capable. And because they said they had this issue in the streamer beta, and they fixed it, but obviously it didn't scale up to 20,000 people. So.
Well, I mean, so here's the issue that people run into is you have your software that you've written, your software can handle that. But then the second you put it on a server, there are different issues that can pop up with connection, like the number of connections the servers possibly can physically handle, the number of files that can be open at once. I mean, there's all kinds of other bugs that, unless you do, like they said, they're trying to figure out why that test that they didn't figure it out. You have to do more of a real world situation of putting all of those factors together, because you'd be like, oh, the software can handle it. Maybe separately these things can handle it, but together you got to figure out if they can. So hopefully they'll figure it out and, here in a week, have a successful launch again.
Did you just was there just an earthquake there?
Yeah. So we just had an earthquake. First time in 30 years.
I'm once the up
30 something years, because I had one when I was.
Once the USGS map, that was pretty legit. Your camera was flying around a little bit.
The whole floor everything was moving, and so I was just like, wait, hold on a second.
I'm gonna wait for them. I haven't seen on any of the maps yet, so hopefully we get an update here, because hopefully it wasn't just like a dump truck or something.
No, because of my neighbors. There was a number of neighbors that all walked outside, and they were out in front of their houses. Like it was legit. I thought like a huge truck started driving by or something. I was like, then it got to where it was moving more than it'd have to be a gigantic truck.
Well, I'm gonna keep an eye on the USGS map here, and we'll bring you an update here when we get an official reading of that earthquake. I'm glad you're okay, Brian. I mean, tell you what, that was.
Yeah, I mean, it made me a little nervous. I was like, I hope it stops.
I was glad the power didn't go, because that would have screwed me. Really.
I was waiting.
So that's Last Oasis. They've got mixed reviews on Steam. It's about 50-50, not surprising. I do think, though, if you're going to have a major technical issue with your game, get ahead of it and post a video out and look sad.
They did it.
Oh, wow, that was a big earthquake, Brian. I'm looking at it right now. 6.5 in Meridian, Idaho.
Meridian is, so yeah, that's like kind of the center of the valley.
Yeah, so that's a pretty big one there. 6.5. That's a big one, and you're pretty far from that. You're a good.
No. Well, okay.
Didn't you grow up in Meridian?
Yes.
Yeah, the Meridian.
It take me probably about 20 minutes to drive to the center of where the earthquake was.
Okay, that's not bad. Wow, that's a big boy. Well,
yeah.
Somebody clipped that on Twitch, hopefully.
Yeah. That was just weird. I was just like,
yeah, it was. Yeah.
Well, I mean, what's funny is in our episode Forever Now, we will have a live earthquake. So.
I'll tell you what, we've done a lot on this program. I've been through 2 hurricanes. Brian, you've successfully survived. Well, you haven't survived. The earthquake could come back, so maybe the next aftershock will kill you. But in all likelihood, you'll survive an earthquake. We've been through a lot over here in about 5.5 years. I know this is the first. I never now Boise. You've heard me say we never have natural disasters in Boise, and this was pretty much the extent of what could happen. The extent of what could happen.
I mean, it's true. It's like so when I was like
in a world where Brian's worst fear becomes a reality.
When I was like 6 or 7, we had an earthquake in Meridian, where when I lived there. And it was enough to roll me out of my bed. I was on a bunk bed, top bunk. And so that was, now this I don't think was near that, but yeah, that was decent. That was the biggest since then. Now they've had earthquakes. This is the weird thing. They've had earthquakes in Salt Lake City last week. They've had a couple of them in odd places. What makes me nervous, we'll do a quick history lesson for people. What makes me nervous is that when you look at Yellowstone is a gigantic volcano.
Yep.
Gigantic. The whole crater of Yellowstone is a volcano.
Huge
crater.
volcano.
A huge volcano, the biggest volcano. Well, the valley, if you look at the valley all the way through Boise, that desert that comes through there, do you know why that's there?
Earthquake.
No, it's there because of the volcano. So over the time, the volcano, the lava stays in the same place on the earth. The crust is moving around the volcano. And so over time, the volcano has moved, and you can see the path of where the volcano was. Now it's in Yellowstone, but you can see the path. Prior to that, it came through in the center of it. The core of it was in the Boise area. That's our whole valley. Our whole valley is the leftover remains of the volcano that has passed under it.
How does that make you feel?
Well, if that thing erupts, I'm dead. I mean, that's...
Well, I mean, I tell you
that
what.
would be the perfect topper to 2020.
You talk the high praises of Boise, Idaho, and I mean, I tell you what,
we do risk dying, yes, but but the whole thing is the whole West Coast would die along with us. So
there's worse things in the world, but so we'll move on from that. I'm glad you're okay.
Anyways, thank you.
Yeah, that was pretty
weird.
Interesting. Yeah.
Well, at least we got documented. I mean,
yeah, nobody could say you're and I'm reading it on a Boise news site right now. They're talking about it. The headline is. Treasure Valley hit by earthquake? ? So
yeah. Question mark? No. Yeah.
Dozens of reports. So that's going on. That's Last Oasis. We'll follow it. Hopefully by next week the servers are back up, and we'll see what happens. Unfortunately, if I had to guess, I would say the damage is probably already done, and I would imagine it's going to be very hard to recover. Now Conan did recover, but the likelihood of your releasing an early access game is already, odds are incredibly tough. And then you have a launch where you have to slam on the brakes for 7 days because of your servers. Yep. I mean, talk about the cards being stacked against you. It's almost a battle you can't win. So hopefully for them it works out, and I would like to see that game succeed. And I sent them an email to get a free code, and they didn't email me back. So I mean. So, I would hopefully the server issues were the reason for that. But that's not the only thing, Brian, that we're talking about today with that have had some issues. I know this one is going to come as a massive surprise to you. And by the way, we took a lot of heat over the last time we talked about this game, Chronicles of Elyria. Now, if you're not familiar with Chronicles of Elyria, I will what we can look at.
I want to make sure
here,
that we don't have anything in here in our book about them. I don't remember.
Yeah, okay.
If we ever mentioned it.
While Brian's looking in his book, what we can bask in the glory of is some B-roll of Brian interviewing Chronicles of Elyria at PAX West 2017. And you can, by the way, the audio was all screwed up. That's why this didn't get released as an interview. The audio didn't work for it for some reason. But you can look at the B-roll of this here, and Chronicles of Elyria was supposed to be an incredibly large-scale, I don't even know how you would describe it. It was like the biggest MMO that had ever existed. And that is what they intended on doing. The game has been in development for, at this point, already 5 or 6 years, and this was 3 years ago.
Now we did have one. I remember we did say something in a Chronicles of Elyria, so we do have one thing
prediction
that we did guess.
Okay, let's hear it.
I said it will be impossible, and so I guess I am correct in this. I said it would be impossible for Chronicles of Elyria to implement graphics shown in the original video compared to the new video.
Well,
it will be impossible.
The game's not coming out.
And they will not be doing it.
Oh, hey, give yourself a bell of a ring of approval, Brian. You've successfully beaten the curse of the Newegg the Newegg prediction book. Can you hold that book up for everybody to see? Our Newegg prediction book. Yeah, it's the official Infection podcast. This, by the way, that
first PAX,
where this video was taken.
Yes, actually. Yep.
So that's Chronicles of Elyria. It's supposed to be a big open world game. I don't really know how else you would describe it. And they've said that essentially they are having to close down. They had to close down due to a lack of crowdfunding dollars coming in, as well as the future of their event that they just did, their Settlers event, which apparently did not go well. Of course, the developer here says, while we had no doubt that our backers would come to our aid, we're living in a volatile time in the world's history with the unprecedented changes caused by COVID-19. So, of course, this game has done nothing since we've talked about it 3 years ago. And they're going to say, oh, well, we had hope, but, coronavirus is the reason that we're out of money and why we're having to stop development. So, unfortunate, but not surprising in the slightest.
No. Yeah, that's...
How else do you say?
I think we're going to see a number of places that all of a sudden are using COVID-19 as an excuse to be like, oh, COVID-19 couldn't do it, because they've been looking for a reason not to look like a fool. The failure of this game has nothing to do with COVID-19. I mean, it failed long ago when there's no way, and I said it here, there's no way they're going to be able to deliver the game they promised. Impossible. Because looking at the gameplay that they showed.
Yeah. Oh, and the
so
scope.
far
They
away.
were talking about a map that was like to the scale of the universe in terms of how big it was. It made no sense. This was the largest massive multiplayer online ever. That's essentially what they were trying to do. And it was like a small team doing it. They were trying to be WoW with like 5 people. Wasn't going to work. I think we knew it wasn't going to work. And the last time we showed a video with their bullshit shaders, we got a bunch of slack from people that a bunch of flack from people saying, "Oh, that's not representative," and "Oh, it's not." Well, that's the last thing I saw. And now the game is not coming out of development. So I was right. You were wrong. I'll put that in my hat. Put that feather in my hat. You were wrong. I was right. But it's the truth, Brian. I think it was very obvious from what we'd seen in the 3 years since we had talked about this game. We had seen 1 or 2 videos released, and they were piss poor. Models glitching through the ground, no shaders. It looked like a Game Boy Advance game.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Because I mean, you were there. We didn't.
Yeah,
as you
I'm
said,
shooting the video.
We didn't display. We didn't show that afterwards, really. But listening to him talk afterwards, when we walked away, we were just like,
impossible.
They promised us everything.
Yeah,
everything. Like, if there's anything we could think of, they're like, oh yeah, that's going to be in the game.
And we've already done it.
Yeah, we've already done it. It's in the game. And I was just like, I walked away with either this is ridiculous and like they've done something amazing, or they're just willing to promise anything you say to them.
This is the second coming of Jesus Christ, or the game isn't coming out. So pretty unfortunate, but again, not surprising in the slightest.
Yeah.
So
that's a shame. I wanted to kind of see what ended up coming out of it. Now I didn't give them any money. The sad thing is they received a lot of money. I did see some postings and things of people saying I would like to see a full counting of where the money went.
Never see it.
Not going to happen. No way, because they would have had that. They've probably wasted a lot of money with the demo that we saw. With the amount of money they brought in, they had to have wasted so much money.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Now I'm reading this form here now. This is the MMORPG form. There's a group of people that are filing a motion with the Washington State, the Washington State Attorney's Office, talking about, because Washington State has a thing called Washington State will not tolerate crowdfunding theft. If you accept any money from consumers and don't follow through on your obligations, the office may hold you accountable. Now, that's obviously a very loose interpretation of what it could be, but it's something to keep an eye out for.
Yeah.
Because you accepted money and lots of money. I mean, this wasn't
that was the surprising
bucks.
thing. Let's see if Chronicles of Elyria. I want to see what their fundraising was.
I'm not sure. They shut down the Discord right after this, which is always a classic. I was trying to find if somebody posted about crowdfunding numbers, but I couldn't seem to find it anywhere.
Looking at Wikipedia, and somehow they've managed to keep dollar. Oh, here we go. The continued crowdfunding website and have raised over $7.7 million as of October 2019. That's what I'm saying. They raised a lot of money. No.
Oh,
I'm telling you, they raised a lot of money.
Holy moly.
So that's why I'm saying for what they've received, I would prefer to have some sort of an accounting, because $7.7 million.
Jesus
Christ. If they didn't seem to be producing anything. I mean, there is some sort of a contract when you purchase something from a Kickstarter and things like that. There is some sort of an expectation. And I think this is why Kickstarters have been dying. This was a Kickstarter. Started in 2016, that they did May 3rd to June 3rd. 2016, they originally raised $1.36 million. Then they started saying they needed more funding. They did more crowdfunding, continued to raise, and by October 2019, $7.7 million.
Damn. Man, Brian, we are in the wrong business. You want to say we're going to make a game and beg people for money?
We just need to make some cool screenshots and we're set.
Well, okay, so you want to ask where $7.5 million goes? How much you think it is to have a booth at PAX and bring your entire staff into PAX and take people out to dinner at PAX? That's a couple $100,000 weekend. Maybe not a couple, maybe 100,000.
If you're looking at what he was doing, though, he didn't seem to be taking anybody out. I mean, he was just standing there in front of a screen talking.
True. But I mean,
they still did spend money.
Yeah, you got to fly your things to PAX. There's some cost that maybe 100,000 is probably maybe a little steep, depending on how many people were there. But that's expensive. Now, obviously, you need to market your game. There's nothing wrong with marketing, but you can't raise $8 million, release a half-assed YouTube video with no shaders, and then say, "Oh, we're closing," and it's because of coronavirus.
No,
I mean, isn't what he said, but we had no doubt our community would back us up. What do you mean? They've already backed you up.
Yeah. This from the beginning. I mean, since we saw them at PAX, this is something where I've just been wondering, like, how is this going to end? Because I couldn't see it ending well. I mean, with all the promises and all the things that they claimed, I didn't see how this could end especially after we saw that video. It was so far from, how many years ago was that? 3 years ago that we saw it?
Literally 3 years ago in March. Yeah.
So 3 years ago at PAX, and the actual quality level of the game went down in that time with $7.7 million.
Well, and here's the other thing too. So we hadn't followed this all that much, justifiably. So they just had this Settlers event, and they received and a lot of people funded it after that Settlers event after seeing content. And now these people are pissed because they just crowdfunded this thing, and there's been no talk about refunds. And according to MMORPG, they've raised over $8 million in crowdfunding.
Maybe since then. I mean, mine was since 2019, October. Yeah.
So they've got over $8 million according to this, and they say many fans left wondering what happened to the $8 million. Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. I hope that we hear more about this. I'm not necessarily proposing legal action against an attorney general or a state attorney.
I mean, if I paid a decent amount of money, you had people, the problem is you had people paying for tiers of subscription where they were being promised items in game, land in game, different major things that were going to affect what you could do in game. And then when they turn around and totally shut that down, that's a problem. When it's not just you're buying a license to the game, they're actually purchasing products in the game. Then now they're saying, "Oh, you don't get any of that." It's just not losing out on the game. Like, people put in money for a return of a specific object. You then refund them all the money except for what the game costs.
Yeah, and I'm not. I'll tell you what they need to do is get out in front of this, release a statement about what happened, where did the money go? Where did this go? Where did that go?
Yeah.
And because if they don't, then there will be an action brought against them by either the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, or a state attorney general's office or something like that. That is inevitable.
Yeah. And hopefully they do something because,
well, I mean, they don't have to. I don't frankly care.
well, they don't have to. It's just frustrating to me because this is the reason that small studios can no longer make a game because of studios like this.
Yep. 100%.
So, I mean, there's so much frustration. But this is a good kind of counter to the previous one for Last Oasis, who said, you know what, this is our fault. I mean, they owned up to it. They're fixing it. If you want refund, we'll give you a refund. This is not what we wanted for an early access. They came out very apologetic in that whole situation where Chronicles of Elyria, we're shutting down. The first moment that it seems like it'd be okay to shut down, they did. The first excuse, here we go, shut down.
Yep.
Yeah, it can't 100%. Be because of COVID. I mean, you can't tell me that 2 weeks, we needed about $7.7 million in, $8 million in. You can't tell me that 2 or 3 weeks of having to work from home when you write software is the problem. So I just don't see I don't see any kind of excuse that they can give other than they just totally wasted the money and they didn't manage it properly. Yeah.
So get out in front or possibly deal with the ramifications legally. And there's got to be a claim to make. I mean, $8 million. I thought it was maybe a couple 100,000.
No, and I remember at the time they had raised a pretty decent amount of money at that time.
Yeah, that's pretty legit, dude. That's that's a lot of freaking money.
Yeah, so they're going to have some explaining to do.
Damn straight, and they should be held accountable. Absolutely.
Yep.
So that's Chronicles of Elyria. Unfortunate. Do you want to get a game giveaway queued up here when I talk about this next topic here?
Sure. Yep, I've got it.
All right. Let's talk about everybody's Lord and Savior, which is Tencent out of China. They are coming to the party as well, Brian. They are developing a cloud gaming platform. It's probably comparable to Google's Stadia and NVIDIA's Shield streaming service, and there's a third one, maybe, I guess, PlayStation service. Those three. The one interesting thing to note with it is that they are building the system and the service with Huawei, which you've probably heard about a lot in the recent weeks and months over the hesitation to adopt 5G, at least in the United States, because the 5G radios, the 5G antennas that they'd be hoisting up on these towers would be developed by Huawei, which is owned by the Chinese government, which, for people that don't know, even though they call it the Democratic Republic of China, is a communist government, and that their government is known to steal information, steal data, steal intellectual property, and and there's no ramifications. We've seen this. We've talked about it on the show in the past. So interesting to see what will come of this. I would assume that if they're going to be, Huawei is under incredible scrutiny from the Trump administration. I'm not going to comment on whether it's right or not, but Huawei is not a liked company within the United States right now. And I'm not saying that this cloud streaming service was coming to the United States, but if there was any hope of them doing a worldwide launch of this, Huawei would not want to be your partner, because there's a lot of negative connotations with Huawei and their business practices, which is embedding phone homes in network adapters and shipping the information back to China. So you're muted.
That's one thing they actually banned the use of, banned cell phones and all kinds of, I mean, when you're doing certain business practices that cause a whole country to ban the use of your product in their country, that's pretty big.
It is. It is very big. So cloud streaming service, Tencent in conjunction with Huawei, we will hopefully see.
I bet you a lot of this has to do with streaming in China as well, or doing game because Google just can't turn around and say, all right, we're going to offer game streaming in China. We've talked about this with the kind of the role that Tencent plays for a lot of companies is being a gateway into China. That's why they have so much money. And so they have so many companies under them. Where you turn this around, this is the gateway if you want to stream a video game, have video game cloud services and all that in China. Here you go. This is the route to do it, and they've got the whole country nailed down. I mean, look at how many people are in China. This is why they silently became one of the top biggest companies in the video game industry, is because they are sanctioned by the Chinese government to be able to do this, and other people cannot. There is no competition there.
Yes. And Huawei is partially owned by the government in China.
Yeah. I think all companies in China are partially owned by the government, if I remember correctly how they work it.
Yeah.
So
there it is. Tencent, new cloud streaming service, probably limited to just parts of Asia, but possibly a worldwide launch. Would be very interesting to see what the worldwide community would do with a Huawei streaming service.
Yeah. And I have a feeling that it might not be something we ever really see. We may see variations or things coming from it, but it'd probably be something we never actually ended up seeing.
Probably. Thought it was interesting, nevertheless.
All right, I'm going to announce the game giveaway really quick. So
yes,
do exclamation point giveaway in chat. I'm giving away a copy of Blasphemous, and this is a Metroidvania Souls-like gore violent action. Very positive ratings, currently $24.99 on Steam. It's an action platformer, combines the fast-paced, skilled combat of a hack and slash together with a deep and evocative narrative core delivered through exploration and a huge universe comprised of non-linear levels. So that is Blasphemous, and we'll give a copy of that away before the end of the show here.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Brian, and hopefully you are able to enter that giveaway and win a free game. Now, tomorrow, if you're here live, it's the 31st. Tomorrow is April Fool's Day, Brian, which is always a very interesting day on the internet. You have every company and their brother trying to be witty about a release of this, or Razer. Last year they said they were releasing a toaster that would put the Razer logo on it. Typical kind-hearted jokes for April Fools. Mm-hmm. Now, a gentleman that I have mixed opinions on, Jason Schreier, who works over at Kotaku. He's the news editor over at Kotaku, and is one of the more vocal in the video game journalism community. He always is talking about kind of the social goings of video game journalists, as they like to call themselves. But of course, when the things become hostile or controversial, like a former writer at Kotaku getting arraigned on trying to meet up with a minor and some sort of, do illegal things with a minor sexually, he of course is silent. But he has a comment to make about April Fool's Day, Brian. And he says, if you are a video game company currently having a meeting to decide whether you should do your, quote, truly hilarious April Fool's joke this week, let me make it easy for you. Absolutely not. What kind of stick does this guy have up his ass? And why does he get to be the voice of reason when it comes to jokes?
See, but I'm in the same line of thing. I just know I'm not in the mood for it. I mean, they could do it if they want, but I'm just not in the mood for April Fool's jokes right now. Personally, I mean,
really?
We've had too many stupid ones where they don't. The problem is they make it like a totally serious thing, and then afterwards, like, oh, it was an April Fool's joke. Well, you just did a total announcement on a realistic project that wasn't joke-like at all. Of course, there's some that there's one that I actually posted since we're talking about this, we can talk about it really quick. PUBG. Mm-hmm. PUBG did an announcement, but in the title they put April Fools. It was very clear.
But that's not the point. The whole point of April Fools is to make somebody believe something, and then it turns out to not be true. Now,
But
I would agree with
depends,
him that if you're making a
don't
joke,
do jokes about deaths and about people who you just keep away from the current topic of the news and go for it.
okay, exactly. So I thought I had a pretty witty response back to him, because this is what I do. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. I said, oh, so COVID-19 means you can't make jokes. Is this a CDC recommendation? I thought that was pretty funny as a response. This just seems to be stupid. And I hope that companies don't read this jackass's tweets, who is the most hypocritical guy in video game journalism, and change their plans based off this guy. Who, by the way, a writer at his blog, who he always talks about, was arrested for child pornography and trying to meet up with a minor. Got caught in an FBI sting. And he doesn't say jack shit.
No.
This is the guy that's always talking about rights for journalists and the unionization of Blizzard and all this stuff in the video game industry, and is silent when this comes out. But now, of course, he can tell you as your company, don't do an April Fool's joke.
Yeah, it's really up to people. If companies do it well enough to where it's like, oh, that was funny. But we have had some where it's just like they're playing with, like, oh, we're shutting down like, for instance, imagine if Chronicles of Elyria tomorrow says, oh, April Fools. All right. Don't do stupid stuff like that.
Yeah, but you shouldn't do that any year. I mean, that's the point. That's just a bad joke.
Yeah. So I'm saying just keep it classy where it's actually, okay, that was funny. That was interesting. It's just, we'll see April Fools is tomorrow. You're already seeing some of them. In some countries, it is tomorrow already. Over in Australia and all that, it is April Fools. So we'll start seeing them we'll start seeing them start to trickle in here. And maybe we'll have some funny ones where we're like, okay, that was a relief. But they're going to have to do some good ones that kind of pull away from the kind of depressing news that we've had lately and distract you. And if they can do that, good for them.
And that's what I hope that they do. So,
yeah.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate your contribution to the video game industry yet again. Keep it up. Go write another article about Super Mario World on Kotaku. Thanks for all your support and your pushing forward of the video game industry. Really appreciate it as a gamer.
Well, do you want to talk really quickly about the PUBG April Fools?
Absolutely.
That they've done?
Let's hear about it.
They do have a trailer. So they have a page where they're dedicating to this, showing a lot of screenshots and things that making it look like a real release. But they did put a video for this,
all right,
which demonstrates their new battle royale.
Oh yeah, let's take a look.
Fantasy Battle Royale.
Lightning bolt. Lightning bolt.
Yeah. Well, it'd be funny. I mean, they should release those as skins in the game, though.
Are you sure that they're not?
I mean,
I think they actually are. Yes, they are. Fantasy Battle Royale will be available as a game mode from April 1st to April 7th.
Okay, there you go. So they're pretty much just skins, though, right? I mean,
yeah, they are. Well, no, not at all. It's a full mode. It's a fantasy BR. Takes place on the Dragon Slayer Isles, which is the Ingril map.
okay.
It's a 20 squads of 4. It does not support 1 or 3 mans. Friendly fire is disabled. You do not get XP towards anything. You don't get battle points. It doesn't count towards survivor pass or anything. Fun. Yeah, it's pretty much just run around with those 5 different classes. Yeah, so that's cool.
It looks like you can buy the various different skins in there too. They seem to be a limited time. What lasts like a certain amount of time?
Yeah, 7 days. So, 1st to the 7th.
7. Well, I see on here like it says 11 days. I don't know if that's for sale for 11 days or if it lasts for 11 days. Works.
So yeah, that's kind of neat. I mean, it's not really an April Fool's joke because they're actually doing it. It appears, but that's. I mean, hey, I tell you what. When you're at
there's something produced with it.
When you're PUBG and you have been stagnant for months, this is how you get people at least maybe thinking about playing again.
Well, at least the problem is now you know what they've been working on for the past couple months.
No. I mean,
but I'm saying this took a decent amount of production time
to add 5 skins to the game
and a whole new game mode.
They didn't add a new game mode. They just changed. You just don't get points for things. It's not like they changed the entire game.
They had to put in systems to make it to where the magic casts. I mean, it's a decent amount of work to make this pull together.
Yeah, I mean,
they've been working on it a while. That's why they're not backing out on this, even though crazy things are happening in the world, because they probably
and they shouldn't, because that's stupid, and it's I don't like that anyway. It's like us stopping to do the show because of coronavirus. Doesn't make any sense. So it's a limited time mode, April 1st to April 7th. Fantasy Battle Royale, unless it's not coming out at all, and they wrote an entire blog post about it.
Who knows? We'll find out tomorrow.
Yeah, now they say the Fantasy Battle Royale has given us the opportunity to test a few new ideas in a real but fantasy but still real environment. A big part of this Battle Royale is survival, and we've been curious what crafting on Battlegrounds might look like. Fantasy BR gave us the perfect opportunity to test out a crafting system. So they are working on some things. Yeah.
Yep. That's a good excuse to do it too. Good play test, get people in there, get some cool skins.
I actually might try this. This actually looks like fun.
So
you're not going to get sniped across the map after looting for 25 minutes, in all likelihood. Now you might get hit by a lightning bolt across the map after 20 minutes, but hopefully not. So there it is. Battle Royale, Fantasy Battle Royale, April 1st through the 7th.
Very good.
Not a sponsor.
Yeah, definitely not. All right.
They do know. I mean, Brandon does know who we are, though. Big fan of the show.
That's true. All right, so let's just talk really quickly. There was some news this week about Lando Montgomery, who was, I think, one of the founders of Gearbox. Yeah, he's a co-founder of Gearbox. He worked on Halo, Half-Life, and a number of other things. He died at 46 years old.
Oh no!
And there was no statement on the actual cause of death. He left Gearbox in 2010. He went and worked as a manager for Daybreak Studios. Sorry to hear that. At the time of his death, he was working as a manager at NVIDIA in the Santa Clara, California area. So
that's unfortunate.
That is too bad. And they didn't, as I said, as of the writing of this article, they did not say the cause of death. But perhaps we'll hear about that later if there's something he was struggling with.
Well, that sucks. I hate to hear that. I remember seeing him at Daybreak for a period of time.
Yep, when he switched,
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I hate to hear that. That's sad news.
Yep, and so that is something that happened this past week. Another thing that has been announced is Epic has launched a publishing label, and it's done it with Remedy, Playdead, and Gen Design. And it says Epic Games Publishing will be multi-platform and cover as much as 100% of costs and offer partners a 50-50 profit share. So they've got publishers that they will pay for everything for them to be, everything for them to be able to make it, and then share 50-50 profit on the game afterwards. So
this is the idea, is that you will either lose or break even on 95% of these things, but you might strike oil on 2%, and it pays for the entire endeavor. This is a heavy gamble.
Well, and so as a it's kind of an idea of games that these ones that they brought in have done. The Last Guardian was done by Gen Design. The InDesign developer Playdead and Remedy Entertainment, the company behind. So Remedy Entertainment was behind Control, Alan Wake, and Max Payne.
I loved Alan Wake. That was a great game.
So these are well-known studios. A huge part of these studios is always funding, and Epic has the money right now. So if they can get some studios putting out some really good games, and hopefully, get something that'll spark interest and really become a popular game, do that now while you have this money. So
agreed.
Hopefully this works out for them. We've seen a lot of publishing or game studios go under, and we just talked about one. If you can get something like this to where you get in there, you can make it. Hopefully they let them make a game without putting all these crazy, stupid restrictions and stresses, because that's usually what brings these studios down, is when they say, oh, we need something by this date, and then they can't deliver it by that date. Now, these are ones that have a track record for releasing games. So if you can get a good set of people on there, say, we'll give you as much money as you need, just make it, within reason, and have some good games come out of it.
Yep. Now they do say, though, that the creative ownership would be, this includes full creative ownership with developers keeping 100% of the IP rights and total creative control. So they essentially could pay for you to build the entire game, and then you just...
you keep it, but you're going to do a 50-50 split on
including employee salaries.
Yeah.
Not just development costs in terms of production, like assets,
licensing,
and things like that, but like full production.
Yep.
And again, hope you hit rich. You if they do this,
takes a good one hit getting a new IP made.
Yes, well, somebody builds a game like PUBG, which is sold millions upon millions of copies at $40. I mean, it's a license to print money.
Yep. So hopefully,
Epic's got the cash to do it. So this is a good idea.
Same thing with Amazon. We've been talking about recently in the past year. Is Amazon's made this studio? They've been releasing games. We're still waiting to see the games come out of it, but it'll be interesting to see how much freedom Amazon gave their studios to really make a game. The right funding and everything. What can they release when they don't have all those things holding them back? This is going to be, I think, another example of that.
Yeah, and the interesting thing to note about this is Epic, who, as we talked about last year, made billions of dollars, this is how they are reinvesting their money. So instead of now obviously they're working on their own things themselves, but they're going to invest this money back into small studios and small games and hope that they strike gold on them, which is a good strategy. It takes a lot of the stress out of you, and there will be contractual obligations. You won't be able to just make a game.
You're not going to be able to pull an Elyria on them.
Yeah, Chronicles of Elyria. I mean, you're going to have to actually make the product, and if you don't, there probably will be 100% liability. I mean, Epic's not going to take it on the chin, but if you've got a good game...
they're not going to be like, oh, sorry, we couldn't bother making it. I mean, because they're going to be offering the money. There's going to be no, we ran out of money excuse. Yeah. So
it's very cool. Could bring the next round of IPs to the scene.
Yep. Now, another thing with Epic is currently right now, I think still they are offering World War Z for free on the Epic Game Store. So if you haven't gone, and we did play some of that this weekend, but if you
how was that?
You did, it went well. We did I don't remember if it was a level or a couple of levels. Went through, played, and had a good time. Everything seemed to work correctly. And we played through a number of the different campaign scenarios. So that's free right now. So if you don't have World War Z, go on there and grab it, because it's a good multiplayer game. And someone was making a comment about how well it ran on their old system, and they were pretty surprised. So
that is cool.
At least go and grab it. Now, I guess to kind of follow along in the theme of what we've been saying, Star Citizen now has put out another report of how much money they have raised, and they are currently over $550 million that they have raised for Star Citizen. So
$500 million.
Yeah. It's this game, I have looked at it and be interesting, but I'm just not jumping onto the train quite yet. Because you just never know where these are going to end. And, it's a cool concept. It is, but it's a lot of a herd mentality of, I don't want to be left behind on this. I got to go throw money at them. I think that's a lot of what they're relying on. But it may be something where there's not really a real game that ever comes out of this.
No, because there's already something playable. More than
but I said there is a possibility that a real game, I mean, they've got little game modes and stuff, but they don't have the full IP done yet. Like as far as the huge world and all the different things that you're doing, like they need to still pull that together.
No, you're right. You're right.
But they do demo some pretty cool technologies that I think are very forward thinking. Now, whether or not those ever actually turn into actual gameplay, that's what I want to see.
I'm not super concerned with Star Citizen. I do think it's kind of comical that they've raised over $500 million and they still don't have
like a game that says, "Hey, come buy this."
Yeah, I mean, I think it's comical. I don't think they're screwing people though.
No, I think they're going to release something, but whether or not it's this massive game that everybody's so hyped about, I don't know if that's actually going to be released in the way that they're thinking it.
No, and it might not, but I don't think they're going to vanish by the wind either.
No, I don't think they're going to pull it. Hey, we're shutting down tomorrow. I think there would be some major legal things that would happen if they did that, because they are selling the equivalent of physical in-game products. I mean, they're actually selling ships that you then own in-game. It's a little bit different than saying I'm buying a copy of the game when you have people throwing down $10,000 for a virtual ship.
Agreed completely.
So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, they're currently at $550 million with their current fundraising. So they are master fundraisers. So give them that.
Don't knock it.
Yep. Dead by Daylight put out a hot fix this week, and so it was pretty small. Just a couple bug fixes. 1, 2, 5 different patches, but some fixing an issue with the Death Slinger, the Trapper, fixed an issue with survivors and their perks not working correctly. An issue with survivors not being able to be healed correctly, and then a thing that was awarding progress to both the killer and the survivor on a certain achievement called Quick Draw. So that is 3.6.2.
Nice. Now, following on our theme that we've been talking about here for a couple weeks, the alpha 19 of 7 Days to Die is expected out here hopefully sooner rather than later. And we've got some new models to show, or some new actual screenshots, not even just models to show this week. And they include an update of Arlene, one of the zombies. So you can see what she looks like here, and she's fully modeled in game. And you can see this is a screenshot from in game
in the actual
Alpha 19 build 88. You can see what she looks like. A much higher quality model than had previously existed for her. So that's in there now. And then we've got a look at a new sniper and some of the models of that with the attachments, which seem to be a big thing. I haven't really screwed around with gun modifications in 7 days just because it never really piques my interest. They seem to be putting a pretty heavy emphasis on it here, though. We saw the pistol last week that had a laser scope, a sight, and a flashlight on it. Now this one has got some sort of ACOG scope and a silencer and a long-range scope on it. So maybe this is one of the next big mechanics in 7 days that they really take whole hog weapon customization. I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe. I think they're going to be adding a couple new mechanics in this upcoming one, so it'll be interesting to see. I'm curious how close they are to actual release. This release seems like it's kind of the end polish and putting in the last couple of features that they had in mind of what they envisioned. Maybe they envisioned weapons mods, and now they're finally just putting all that stuff in, cleaning up some of their old models to make them more high quality. I think they're kind of going into the last phase of their game development.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at this screenshot here, the player is taking damage from this character, from this zombie model. I think it's good to go.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll probably do a release in the next couple of weeks.
I would hope so.
I would assume, and roll this out. But I'm really curious on how close they are to actually meeting their commitment and saying, all right, we're done. Here's your game. We'll do updates and fixes, but we're done with development, and we've published the game that we anticipated.
Firebomb is saying, is this going to be the first game that released as a blocky type game that turned into a real looking graphical enhancement? I think the verdict is still out on it, but they have, if you look at very early versions of 7 Days to Die, and we still do mock and laugh at some of the current state of models in the game.
Especially the icons.
The icons. But if you look at where it was when it first launched, it is night and day. It's not even the same game.
Yeah.
Not even the mechanic parts of it, which have changed dramatically as well. Just the look of the game has completely done a 180. And then they've adjusted the game. The game is so much smoother than it used to be. You can actually play it now. Early 7 Days to Die was atrocious to play. The lag was crazy. The zombie hits were way out of range. You were constantly getting hit. It felt like no matter how far you moved away from the zombies, they would still be able to lunge and grab you. So could this game be a game that does a real switch from where it was very early on? I think so, but you have to release. You can't.
Yeah.
You have to do the Conan Exiles or do the Ark. You have to actually release. And even if that means not getting everything necessarily, that doesn't mean you have to stop development. But there's a big difference from doing Alpha 19 to Beta 1, Beta 1.1, Beta 1.2. And that's big.
Yeah.
That's real big.
Yeah, and I think they've definitely met their contractual, what they offered at Kickstarter and said that they were going to deliver. I think they've gone above and beyond that. I mean, I would say 7 Days to Die is one of our favorite games.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's got to be a point where they just say, all right, maybe consider DLC in the future if you're wanting to do that. Or if you want to keep doing graphics and updating the graphics, but the functionality itself stays the same. But I think they do need to release to 1.0 pretty quickly, because there's no excuse. I mean, I don't want to have it be a year from now and there's still an alpha.
Well, and the big thing about releasing from alpha or beta to 1.0, whatever they're going to do, is you'll see a price jump, which will mean anybody that doesn't own the game right now will have to pay significantly more, and vice versa. If you announce, hey, we're coming out on this date, means a lot of people will hopefully buy it before it actually comes out to try to save a couple bucks. So it's a big sales opportunity too.
Well, I think right now they're kind of in a weird spot, though, that maybe they're kind of trying to delay and wait for. If you look at what's going on with their console right now, remember that there was kind of two different licenses for the console versus the PC, and they're not releasing updates on both platforms at the same time. Like the console does not have the same features as PC because of a licensing disagreement or a licensing issue. So I think they really need to figure that out first before they say they come out of 1.0, if they can. If they can get it to where they can get straightened out to where they actually are able to release the game on console and PC at the same time. But because right now, I don't think they could do that. So I think that is an issue.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, there's an interesting issue because remember the whole Walking Dead skins and everything that were only available on console.
Well, that was because it was that same publishing company that is now out of business, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they're totally out of business, but the problem is there are things tied, like the publishing of the console version, I think, is separated somewhat from the PC version.
It is completely, yeah.
So I think they're two different companies. So there's just not, and updates haven't been going to console, which is a problem.
That's not good.
Yeah. So if they can figure that out, it'd be weird for them to launch on PC and not actually launch on console as well. I think a lot of people would be pissed.
I don't think anybody plays this game on console anyway. Could you imagine how awful this game would be to play on console?
I've watched someone do it, and them working around in the interface and switching between objects on that long bar at the bottom is so slow and painful. It's frustrating to watch.
Saying. I can't imagine. I mean, yeah. I don't even almost like playing it on the PC in terms of how the usability of the interface and some of the weird kooky mechanics. I can't imagine.
Well, that's where I think this is one of those games you just kind of accept. All right, this is bad. But look at, people are playing Minecraft on console.
Yeah, Minecraft works on consoles, and it works really well.
But this could too.
Yeah, but Brian, you're talking about two different caliber games. You're talking about one of the hardest core zombie PvP PvE games that you've ever played.
But the way the building blocks work and things like that are very similar.
True, but you're talking about in some of these zombie battles, you're talking about
real time, real quick reactions. Yeah, and you can't do that on the console currently. Yeah, that's the definition of us.
Well, a lot of it is. A lot of this is in a game like 7 Days to Die. A lot of the stealthiness of the game and getting to certain areas where the zombies either won't attack you or you have an advantage where you can hit them from above or below or whatever it may be. That's the finesseness that you can't get on a console. It just doesn't exist. And that's a lot of this game. A lot of it.
Yeah. This would be very difficult for them to transition this into a console game without taking out a lot of the features. Yeah, they'd have to simplify it, and I don't know if it'd be worth doing that because
I don't know how you're going to turn it into Minecraft.
Game.
I mean, that's
pretty much all it would do because you'd have to take away the real time need for quickly doing something.
Yeah, I mean,
take out a lot of the building blocks and really simplify it.
Yeah, I have to try it. We both have Xboxes now.
Yeah, we could try it. See how
I wonder how much it is. Let's see. 7 Days to Die. Xbox. Let's see what Xbox has got to say. It's $40.
Ugh.
Yeah. Oh,
I think I just have to still listen.
It's $29 on Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got a 2.5 stars.
Yeah, because a lot of people are pissed about the features. Which I would be too. I mean, if I paid for it and then it's like, this doesn't work right.
Great game, garbage company.
Yeah.
Could have been better. Would have given it 5 stars, but the guy stopped updating it. And seems they just want us console users get old too quick now and don't want to buy the whole desktop startup every version 1 star.
But the thing is I think legally they aren't allowed to update it.
Yeah, it's not perfect, but it's still worth it. Fun Pimps doesn't own the rights to it. They don't care. Don't buy. Devs gave up. Super fun, addicting, but broken. Yeah, No, you're spot on. Warning about the current state. Don't buy the game. It's a scam. Telltale's the company, yeah.
Yeah, so Telltale owns the rights to the console version. Of course, Telltale isn't
bankrupt.
Totally around anymore. Yeah, they did something where another company started up and finished some of the titles, but that didn't fix the old Telltale problems.
Yeah.
So it's stuck in a legal limbo, and I just don't know that it's going to come out of it.
I would probably just not. I wouldn't even bother with it.
Yeah, just say let's not release on console.
Yeah.
So
bad PR though.
Yeah, it does look bad, but because most people
part of it
realize that it's not Fun Pimps doing this.
Well,
it's the fact that Telltale happened.
But to be fair, if you're going to release your IP on console and give up all the rights, that's kind of what you're signing up for.
Yeah, it sounded like they did some stupid business.
Well, yeah, it sounds like they signed a crappy agreement so they could get a game out on console, which at the time when they did this was kind of unheard of. There wasn't any other games like that on console, or at least PC games that had transitioned to console. But clearly they signed a terrible deal because they are legally not allowed to update their game. And if that's not a huge red flag about how the business is being done, well, it should be, because it is. If you completely sell the rights to updating your own game, because it's still called 7 Days to Die, And if you've got people that own it on console, the GameStop's being updated. Now they go and get a PC years down the line. They're going to say, to hell with this. I don't want this game. These guys screwed me over on console. I'm not going to buy this crap.
And that's exactly where it is right now. So I just don't see them turning around from this. And
agreed.
Telltale's not really around for them to legally figure it out. Someone probably just owns some sort of a investor owns the rights to it and probably is holding a ransom for a decent amount of cash.
Yeah, and that's not good.
Bingo,
They
boom,
should-
shakalaka.
They should not have done that.
Godif says he thinks the Fun Pimps did finally buy back the rights. I haven't seen that anywhere, but maybe they did.
I want to thank our friend Green Man Cartoons for hitting us up with the 26-month resubscription here on Twitch.
Okay, thank you very much, Green Man. I did find, thank you, Godif. Here we go. Here's the notice, and it came out the end of last year.
Oh.
So Fun Pimps they were able to regain the full publishing rights for the console version. So the Fun Pimps have reacquired full console publishing rights on the current and all future versions of 7 Days to Die on PS4 and Xbox One. Here they say, as far as updates, the console is not getting a meaningful update since July of 2017, which was content and features from the Alpha 15 PC version. So it hasn't been updated since Alpha 15. The Fun Pimps are a PC game developer and publisher. We do not have the resources or expertise to do ports and updates to the console. So we licensed the console publishing rights to Telltale Games, who hired Iron Galaxy, who have done the ports with minimal TF Fun Pimps assistance. We all had great things going. A full Alpha 16 port was in the works. That is, until Telltale's insolvency broke the cadence of builds, hurt our sales, reputation, and created this unfortunate situation. So instead of investing in a new update, the Fun Pimps spent a very large sum of money regaining the rights back in an auction, in addition to ongoing legal and auditing fees. So now we are the console publisher as the operational business, and out of obligation to our investors and our hardworking team who need to provide for their families too, we have to evaluate the expense and risk of porting any future versions of the game to console. So
okay, then they need to take it off the store, because they're charging $30 for a game that hasn't been updated in 3 freaking years.
Yeah. It sounds like maybe at some point when they're closer to releasing and coming out of alpha, that would be a time to say, all right, let's hire on some people.
Get rid of it now. Don't sell it. They're still selling it, Brian.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's on Alpha 15. It's not getting updates.
And not that people shouldn't read reviews and make a smart decision, but I'm hoping that if a game is on Microsoft Store, which is incredibly vetted, right? This is not Steam. This is Microsoft and Sony Store. That if I'm going to spend $40 on a game on that marketplace, that I'm going to get a game that works and is an active game.
One thing they're also complaining about, they said with Sony and Microsoft, no matter how small, any update has to go through a rigorous testing submission process. So they don't want to deal with that either.
Well, yeah. Well, then don't release a game on a console. I mean, that's the difference between console and PC, is that you can't release half-assed
They should just offer everybody
updates.
Refunds on it if they're not going to update it.
I don't think they need to do refunds. Just
on console.
No, I don't think they should do refunds at all. Just say, hey, you got your enjoyment. We're just not going to sell it anymore.
Did we? I mean, how long ago did they actually have it on there?
It's been on there for a while. I mean, I'm not saying that they need to,
since July 2017, it hasn't had any updates.
True, but the whole point is they're still selling it right now. That's the problem. I mean, you eat half the ice cream, you don't bring it back to the store and say, "Oh, I didn't like it." I mean, that's just not how it works. I don't have a problem with that, but I do have a problem with them selling something that they have admitted they are not going to update. They have not updated, and is in a state in which it's, as people are reviewing on the Microsoft Store.
So the problem is it was out on console for 1 year.
Yeah.
So
but that was the
April
fault of the previous
2016, they announced PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. By 2017, a year later, it no longer was receiving updates.
True.
So, I mean, I don't think that's long enough. And then it's not been received. I just think they should offer people a refunds and say, if they're not going to release out of it. If they say we are going to release, say, hey, we're going to push out an update. But if they're not going to, just say, all right, we're offering refunds to all those that purchased it on console. Sorry, but we're not at this time releasing it there.
Bobby J says, I actually still have people on my Xbox Live list that still play 7 days on console, but I'm sure they have no idea what's actually now on PC. Now, that's an interesting point I hadn't thought about, Brian. If you're not, if you don't watch Infection Podcast, which if you're not, watching or listening to Infection Podcast,
loser.
I mean, why even bother living?
Exactly.
If you're not following the development, you might not. How do you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
well, for them, that's just the game.
That's the game. Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine, though, if you turned around and then they released like Alpha 18 or Alpha 19 on it. Like, those people would be like, what in the world?
Yeah, the entire game is
What
changed.
is this game?
Who the hell is Trader Jane? And why does she sound like a man, baby?
Why, Trader Jane. Yeah, I imagine if they do. I mean, that may be their thing, is like they're just going to release this like crazy update that's just going to blow the minds of console players.
God, if also says the problem is that Telltale sold the console game as is. Alpha 15 is all you'll ever get for consoles because consoles can't handle the full game. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, okay, here is the issue, that you don't tend to see games like this on consoles much because the whole voxel landscape and all this requires a decent amount of hardware. There's a lot of processing happening in the background. So it is kind of heavy. Now, I'm sure they've been optimizing it and trying to fix things, but they would need to go through and highly optimize this game for a console.
Yeah, I don't think it's
which I don't
it's
think
a
they've ever
console
done.
game. I don't see a reason to. The amount of people that are going to buy this and have a good experience on the console, I will say, I think I've got a pretty good grasp on. I came from the console universe not that long ago. I've been there. I've been there, done that. This is not a game that sells or plays well on a console. I don't care how you skin it. I don't care how you add a pretty GUI. I don't care how you deal with inventory management. This is not a console game. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. This is not Minecraft. This is so
well, I don't
much
even
more
think
complex.
I don't even think of Minecraft as a console game. I think they've managed to make it work. I have.
It's pretty good.
But in creative
for
mode,
what it is.
Going through all the different screens, it could be better.
For what it is, it works very well. Does it work as well as the PC? Yeah. No, but it works, and it's more.
It's the kind of game where, as a PC person, I look at it and say, "Oh, this is so much easier on PC.
It is.
It's just easier."
Yeah. I just don't.
And
think
that same thing with 7 Days to Die. It just, if we went on and played it on console, we'd say, "Oh, this is so much easier on PC."
So I played DayZ on Xbox. I had access to that early, and it sucked. It was the same thing. I couldn't figure out how to load a gun. I mean, that's the kind of crap that you deal with these console to PC ports. It just doesn't make sense. For some, not all of them, but for some, this game does not make sense on console. You can't change my mind. It's just too complicated. It's just too complicated.
Yeah, and then maybe that's what they realize. I mean, at least these guys have realized, hey, we don't have the expertise to really do this right. It'll be a disaster if we do it. Just letting you know.
Then take it off your store. Then take it off the store.
Yeah.
That really pisses me off.
Yeah. Yeah, they do need to just pull it off, because if they're not going to ever do an update again, because they're not going to put out a complete game or put it out for free. If you're going to do that, just say, here's the one that's on console. If it's free, if we, we'll take it off of being free and offer it for pay. If at some point we actually release this on console, but for right now it's free for people to play, in its current state. If
that's
put
actually
out
a
an
good
update,
idea.
we'll charge. Yeah,
because they can't
and then you
be
get people
selling
playing
copies.
it. Yeah, but they'll get people started on it, but they don't have any obligation to really continue doing anything, because hey, it's a free game. Play it as it is. We don't, and it could be their kind of playground. If they want to go in and test fixes and do some things in there, they could.
They could, yeah.
So, we'll see.
7 days tonight.
Yes.
Let's-
Some other updates that we had this week. The Darwin Project. There is actually a video
Yes, there is.
that you can check out, but they're adding in a new kind of tile is how it works. If you remember how this works with Darwin Project is they have tiles that they put down, which are kind of different biomes of maps, so that you have a changing and never the same from round to round type of game. It'll
the
randomly
world is
put
never
different.
the same.
Yeah, the world is kind of built in the beginning. We're going to have this type of a biome here, this type of biome here, and each biome has different mechanics. So this is one called New Life City, and they'll have a video kind of showing off some of the things they're going to be adding.
So there you go. That is the Darwin Project and their New Life City. Wink, wink. Cyberpunk it's got a very much a cyberpunk vibe. I love the look of that. That's got an awesome look.
Another thing they're offering is on PlayStation Plus, they're giving away some skins. So if you have PlayStation Plus on PS4, they have a ninja outfit, ninja axe, and ninja bow. Now, not Mixer Ninja. This is the blue ninja, so it's just a type of ninja skin.
What's that cat up to these days? I haven't heard anything about Ninja.
No, yeah, I mean it's who knows, but I haven't really heard so much about. I mean, we've heard about Dr. Disrespect for some random.
He's live right now. Wow, he's got 6,000 people watching.
No,
this guy had 50,000 people concurrently watching him on Twitch.
Makes you wonder if he kind of regrets that or not.
No, because apparently if he was making the millions of dollars that he apparently got in his deal.
Well, and one interesting thing is if you look at the amount of money that Twitch takes, I mean, they take 50% off. They take 50% of a lot of the things that happen. So you could be like, oh, look at all this money he's making. Well, he's looking at more of, look at that 50% of the money I'm making that's going to this Twitch company.
Oh, yeah.
So Mixer, I probably just offered something to say, hey, we'll take a much less of a cut. You won't have as many people, but you'll be bringing home probably the same amount of money.
Yeah, bingo.
So works for him.
Agreed.
They're doing nothing since the beginning of this competitive season. They're talking about competitive season 1. Since the beginning of the competitive season, 2 qualifiers for Steam occurred, and one for both Xbox One and PS4. They said there were some technical issues occurring on console. They're trying to get it more stable currently, but yeah, so we'll be seeing if they do any more competitive season. It says, last but not least, we want to send lots of love to the entire Darwin Community Project in these difficult times. Remember, be kind, compassionate, and generous towards others. So, positive message.
Yes, sir.
All right. As far as other games, we have some of the ones that we've talked about usually. SCUM came out with some patches this week. I don't know if you want to maybe talk about them a little bit.
Yeah, well, Brian, so we're obviously not the biggest SCUM proponents here on this program, but there's something that happened in their studio that is probably hitting a little close to heart. They had a major earthquake in Croatia, which is where they are headquartered. And now, unfortunately, your setup doesn't look quite as bad as theirs. But
no, theirs looks like it was much stronger.
Yeah, much stronger. Knocking bookshelves over, computer monitors, just trashing their whole office here. So that was pretty interesting. And obviously, our own Brian Aldridge, obviously experiencing something very similar to that here just about an hour and a half ago. So very scary times ahead. But a couple things that they have done here is that they've added the final version of stacking, which is big for item inventory. For now, only bolts, nails, and money have the option, as this is still in the testing phase. You can stack them by, this game did not have stacking previously. You can now stack them You can now stack them by simply dragging them over each other. For now, stacking does not work in chests. It's only in vicinity and backpacks. That's kind of unfortunate to hear. I think it's good that it's working on, chests. It's good that it's working on backpacks and stuff, but I would hope that it also work in chests, but it doesn't. Some inventory decay is one of the other things that they've got here. Each item inventory can now contain damaged cells depending on the durability of the item in question. The damage spreads from the bottom corner in a circular motion. If an item stays inside the damage zone, it will be damaged over time. 1% per damaged cell. They are covered per hour. You can take items out of the damage zone, but you cannot put them back into the damage zone. So the items, what it sounds like to me, what they're trying to do is put a damper on inventory hoarding. And if you add some sort of inventory damage system to the inventory, it allows you to do that. So you'll have to be mindful of what you're putting in your container and where, or you'll experience some damage. They've added a new mini game called Diffuse. This is actually pretty neat. It's a bomb diffuse mode. You follow the guides there, and you can see what that looks like and play through that in game. It is called Diffuse, and that's how that works. And I believe, excuse me. And then the last thing here is the trap icon that they've added. So it is now visible. You can see placed traps with an icon. Give you a little bit more of a heads up as to what you're about to walk over. And of course, they've also added a face mask, which can be found in some of the medical areas of the game. Now that's update 0.3.74.21350. We also had another patch that came out after that. Same beginning, but this is 21392. Quality of life fix increased the precision of event wall dealing damage, and shotgun shells can now be crafted with lower skill level. And then a couple of bug fixes for some various things across the map and the game. So that is SCUM. They are up to date.
Very good. There was a note put out by the XERA team, and pretty much a note regarding COVID-19. So they just wanted to provide everyone with an update about the status of development. So they have a team spread around the world, which is perfect for these kind of situations. And so it says, as of today, we are no longer able to work from our office in New Zealand because of the government mandate. So they have been over there, and like many places, they've pretty much closed all non-essential businesses for the next 30 days. So for some people that will become an issue, that nobody in their company has contracted it, so they don't have to worry about that, but they are required to work. So this may cause, some little issues here and there, as far as developing things that they're now going to have to do all remotely, and they can't be in a central office to do it. But I think for a lot of the game development studios, a lot of them have much of the ability remotely to be able to do these things. They don't have to be on site so much. So
I would love, Brian, and I'm sure you would love this too. This will probably get you hot and bothered right here. The words about to come out of my mouth. Game development over RDP. I mean, does that not sound like quite an experience?
There are times when you just wouldn't want to do it. I've tried to do, so I've actually have done this.
Developed over
I've
RDP?
had it to where, I had it to where I wanted to test something, but I was remote. Like I wasn't at my house, but I wanted to run something in Unreal Engine on my computer at home. So I remote desktop into my computer at home. A nightmare. I don't recommend it. Don't bother.
So you would not recommend setting up a VPN and RDPing into your desktop from your $20
No, especially
Chromebook?
doing graphic design. I mean, doing 3D models and everything's like a half a second off. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Huh. Well, good for them. Fortunately, I'm sure most of the developers have gaming rigs at home anyway, so they can probably just hook up their SVN software or their versioning software and be off to the races. So hopefully
You may
can keep up
the next 30 days, things may be a little bit different. Companies may be a little bit delayed on putting out some patches because, maybe a little bit more of a pain to test.
Yeah,
and
or closing down,
things.
of course.
Or you have other companies that are closing down right now. 30 days was too much.
Yeah.
But
$8.5 million is plenty.
Yep. So we'll see on this. That was just a little update from XERA.
Cool.
ARC put out 2 updates this week. One thing I'm not sure of, and I'll ask you your opinion. So this one's 307.8, fixed an issue that prevent players from connecting to OC servers, and then re-enabled configuration to prevent Reapers from being transferred to Genesis. Next, so that's 307.8. Now it goes to 309.4.
Okay.
Do we know why? I'm trying to figure out why they jumped 308. They skipped all the 308. Did they accidentally put out a release and call it 30? What is supposed to be 307.4, and they actually accidentally did it as 309.4? I don't know.
No, because they would have 7.4 would have been after 7.8.
Yeah,
so
they jumped a huge amount.
Well, it could have been that they did an internal 308 and they realized something wasn't right, so they just jumped to 309.
Man, that's pretty big.
They may have a guideline for what a version number needs to be to hit an official patch, and they may have just decided, hey, 308's just, there's stuff in here that's not good. Let's just skip over that 309 and we'll just go from there.
Yeah.
They may have reverted back
because
to
309.4 is a more decent sized
update.
patch. Yeah.
So maybe it's possible they did some work on 308. It turned out to be a dumpster fire. They reverted back
they didn't
to 307.
actually end up publishing it, and so they ended up just rolling into the next one.
So 307 became 309. Maybe. I mean, I don't know how development works.
So in this, I'm just going to skim through some of these, but things like fixing more of those collision issues, mesh holes in the different biomes, fixed some damage exploit on Ferox. Then they tweaked some of the numbers and pretty much a lot of things for their new DLC that they've released, fixing a lot of those because it is it's only been out for a month now, I think, something like that. So it hasn't been out that long.
I'd say a month, yeah.
So, so that in our servers are currently running this 309.4 version. So if you're interested in playing it, you can go check out our servers. Check
it out. We've got another game here with some updates. That is Unturned. They've a couple of miscellaneous things here. Chat _always_use_rich_text added to the server config, allowing servers with plugins to force vanilla messages to use the rich text formatting, which I'm sure most of you have no idea what that means. But rich text is a format of text that is beneficial for keeping things uniform. On throwable spawn event in the usable throwable for custom throwable items. That makes sense. And included care package, blast door, and flag an example asset package. So those are the miscellaneous things that are added to Unturned 3.20.3.dose. And that was on the 27th on Friday.
Very good. All right. And then also we have on here No Man's Sky, the Living Ship patch 2.34. And it was just a hotfix on PC. It says the hotfix addresses a PC issue which began to occur recently and fixes a crash seen most often in the space anomaly. So that's pretty much all that one was. And then the last thing is we have a video showing pre-release of an upcoming game, Path of Titans.
Yeah, you want to? I think maybe we'll show that next week because it's a little bit. It's a little long. It's a new game coming out. It's called Path of Titans. It's a dinosaur game. Hopefully we'll get some time to show it next week. It's rather interesting and it's a pretty in-depth video. I'm not sure exactly. I'm not sure exactly how uniform that's going to be for people, but that's what it is. It's called Path of Titans, and we'll talk about it next week.
Yeah, we'll show it off a little bit next week. But is there anything else we didn't cover?
No, I don't think so. If it's all right with you, we'll jump into current players.
Very good. Yep, I'm good with that.
All right, let's look at some video games, and that's the outro. Let's look at some video games and the number of people that are currently playing them. Let's start off with DayZ, currently playing 11,961. The 24-hour peak, 22,981, with a 7-day peak of 25,223. Moving on over to Ark Survival Evolved, 56,142 people currently playing that. The 24-hour peak, 97,598, with a 7-day peak of 115,795. Looking at Rust, currently playing 53,688. The 24-hour peak for this, 84,096, with a 7-day peak of 102,453. Moving over to 7 Days to Die. There's still a lot of people playing this. Alpha 18's been out for a while now. Currently playing 17,464. The 24-hour peak, 23,266, with a 7-day peak, 31,479. And I think, Brian, it's pretty accurate to say here that this is the longest into a 7 Days to Die life cycle with player counts this high. Normally it's around 7 or 8,000. It's almost 10,000 higher than it usually is.
Yep.
Alpha 18's been out for months. Like probably 4 months at the minimum.
Yeah, and this is something for them. Usually it drops off in a week or 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's a pretty
the numbers
quick
drop off quite a bit, and they've been maintaining that. So hopefully it's because of the quality level. They've been much better. Their alpha was the Alpha 17 that dragged on for so long. Yes. If I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. I think they kind of learned their lesson from that, and that people would rather have these kind of smaller, more consistent updates coming out rather than a year-long giant patch where they're having to play all the bugs and play with the same thing for a full year. So
yeah, exactly.
Hopefully that's something they look at their numbers and realize, all right, let's keep doing it this way.
Yes, sir.
So, all right. You ready for tip of the week?
Absolutely.
All right. And this where you either give a general gaming tip or one for a specific game. And since a lot of people have been playing Warzone, that will be my tip of the week. All right, so in Warzone, we talked about this a little bit before, but one thing you want to make sure you do is collect cash while you're in the game. One thing that cash does allows you to revive a downed squad mate. One thing you will do, though, is you're kind of sacrificing the ability to buy certain items in the game that may help you just for the possibility of being able to revive a teammate. The game has a number of ways to allow you to revive in a game. First of all, they have the Gulag, where if you can win that, you're able to go back into the game. You can also purchase redeployments. One option may be that you can pool the funds with your friends, your squad mates, to be able to purchase more expensive items that you might be able to not afford while you're alone. So if you're playing, I don't recommend this with randoms. If you're just playing with random players, usually pooling your funds will end up not working well for you. But if you're playing with people that you know, and you maybe want to purchase specific items to give yourselves a bit of an edge in the game, you can do that by pooling your funds and also saving those for revives. So that is tip of the week.
Alrighty, thank you very much, Brian. Appreciate that. I don't know are we gonna have a structured game of the week? I think what we've been doing in the past is throughout the week we find something that we want to play and we just been posting in Discord.
Yeah, and this past time, we played
War Z.
What was the zombie game?
World War Z. Yeah.
World War Z. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we played World War Z because hey, it was free, and we're like, hey, just download it. We had a number of people play, had a good time. So we'll probably do the same thing this weekend. There's plenty of games to pick from, but we'll say, hey, let's play Warzone, or we'll play something that's happens to be going on. So
absolutely. So hopefully you'll join us in our Discord. The link for that is on our website, infectionpodcast.com. We'll cover all of our bases here, Mr. Brian.
I think so. Are we ready to roll for the giveaway?
Yes, sir.
Congratulations, Firebomb. Firebomb, who hopefully they're giving him unlimited bandwidth for this.
They are. He confirmed it. He said he's downloading everything.
Download them all. Get an external 8 terabyte hard drive for your console. Do everything you need to do.
Build a Steam caching server inside of your house where you can load the games onto that. You can actually do this, by the way. Have you read anything about a Steam cache server? So the LAN parties do it. You can use the Steam CDN, and you can download games to this server internally, and you can point your Steam host. So at a LAN party, instead of everybody downloading a game from the internet, they're all downloading it from your LAN, and it's Steam caching. So if you have like a bunch of users that are downloading games, you can store it all on your cache server. And
they even have the ability to do that kind of with Xbox, because you can have it to where it actually downloads from other consoles on your network, which is kind of nice.
Which is a lot quicker. It's a lot quicker to do LAN, especially if you've got 3 or 4 people all trying to download things at the same time, which is where you really run into a bandwidth issue.
Yep.
Or in the case of a LAN party, 150 people.
Yep. And so so that is an option, but I'm sure Firebomb is downloading everything you possibly can this week.
Yeah. Got till May 15th. He's got plenty of time.
Yep.
All right, Brian.
Of course, he'll put it off, and then May 15th, they'll be downloading everything and find out that, it went at the AM of May 15th.
It was 11:59 on the.
He's going to get like $1,000 internet bill.
Yes, sir.
So, all right. Anything else before we roll out of here?
I think we're all set. Thanks for everything as always, and I'll see you next week.
All right. If you want to find me on Twitter, at Boise Computer, of course, my blog, biteoftech.com. Make sure you go to our website, infectionpodcast.com. On the right-hand side there, go and join us on Discord. You can go there and submit news. You can hang out and play video games if you want to join us for Game of the Week. If you want to get a notification of the live show next week, you can join our Steam group. 15 minutes before we start the live show, you get a little notification to pop up, and you can join us, participate in the game giveaway, participate in chat throughout the show. We also have our links to our YouTube, Mixer, and Twitch channels there. If you want to listen to the audio after the fact in the recorded one you can download, you can do that with any of the links in the lower right where it has it for iPhones, Androids, even if you want a desktop client, if you wanted to do that for the audio only versions. We've got show notes now for all 272 episodes. So perhaps there was a video that we played that you want to see. We'll have links to all those things on the show notes. And then if you want to support us, so you can do that through Amazon, through amazon.infectionpodcast.com. You can do it through Humble Bundle, through humble.infectionpodcast.com. And of course, as you heard through the show here a couple times, through Twitch Prime subs. And that's a very good and easy way. It doesn't cost you anything if you want to use the Twitch Prime to be able to give us a donation each month and get a few perks outside of that. So thank you very much.
Yes, sir. And by the way, one of those perks, which I didn't even know was a perk, Brian had done it secretly, is inside of our Discord server, there is a special channel for game patches and updates that are have only access to people that have the Twitch subscriber role on our Discord. So that is an added benefit, a little bit of a aggregation of game updates on there as well. So one of the many benefits. And of course, you get to see our lovely smiling faces each and every week.
Of course.
I mean, that's the main reason. Brian, thank you as always. I'm glad you survived.
I know. I'll have to get a clip of that later.
Survive the episode.
I could probably submit it to the news. That'd be a perfect way to get our logo on there if you can clip it for me.
The first thing I'm going to do is clip this after we end this program. So.
All right, send it to me. We'll post it, and then I'll tag my local news channels.
Dude. Infection Podcast is about to skyrocket off of a natural disaster. Yeah. Hey, tell you what, everybody else gets to take advantage of it. It's our time. We've been ethical this entire time. Now it's our time. Brian, thank you very much. We'll see you Friday night for Game of the Week, and then we'll see you next Tuesday for another episode.
Yep, we'll see you. Bye.
Alrighty, folks. My name is Nick Craig. My blog is dudeinit.com. I wrote a new article. If you're somebody that uses TeamViewer or one of those other services, then you're using like a free license and it's constantly pestering you to upgrade. There's a new service out that is open source and is a free alternative to some of those other remote desktop applications. You can check that out. It's at dudeinit.com. And I don't know why my outro music is not playing, so I'm going to stumble here as I get it on. And I will say, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Infection Podcast. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. Of course, visit our website. It's infectionpodcast.com. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Have a great week. Stay safe. We'll see you next time.